Hello students. Today we are going to learn transformation of sentences using degrees of comparison. Dear students, you have already learned in your previous class degrees of comparison. Before going into today's lesson, let me give in a very nutshell about the degrees of comparison what you have learned in your previous class. Students, you remember that degrees of comparison are of three types. What are they? The first one is the positive degree. Positive degree is the simplest form of an adjective. For example, old, tall, big. Next comes the comparative degree. What is that? Comparative degree is used to make comparison between two persons or things. For example, older, taller, bigger, etc. Next and the last one is the superlative degree. What is that? Superlative degree is used when we make a comparison among more than two persons or things. For example, oldest, tallest and biggest. Now, let us come to the basic rules of transformation of sentences using degrees of comparison. Now, dear students, we will discuss three basic rules of transformation of sentences using degrees of comparison. In type 1, you can see we have taken a sentence, Mr. Thompson is the oldest teacher. And you can well identify the sentence to be in the superlative degree because we have used the word oldest. Now we will learn how to transform this sentence into comparative degree and into positive degree. And remember, while transforming, we are not allowed to change the sense of the sentence. The sense has to remain intact. Now let us see how to transform it into comparative degree and to positive degree. Before transforming, we have to know what is the comparative form of the word oldest and what is the positive form of the word oldest. Now, the comparative form of the word oldest is older. So, in order to transform the sentence into comparative degree, we have to use the word older. Now, let us see how to transform it. Mr. Thompson is older than any other teacher. Now this sentence, we have done it with the word older. Now this sentence is in the comparative degree and the sense has remained unchanged. Why? Because in the first sentence, which was in the superlative degree, the sense was that Mr. Thompson is the oldest teacher. And in the comparative degree, the sense has remained unchanged because Mr. Thompson remains the older teacher than any other teacher. Now, we will do it in the positive degree. The positive form of the word oldest is old. Now, how to transform it with the word old? Now, Mr. Thompson is the oldest teacher. That means there is no other teacher as old as Mr. Thompson. So, we will have to use a negative. We have to begin the sentence with a negative to transform this particular sentence into positive degree. How to do that? Let's see. No other teacher is as old as Mr. Thompson. Now, this was in the comparative and now this comes in the positive degree. As old as. In comparative, the comparison has been done by the word, by the conjunction than, and in the positive, the comparison has been done by as old as, and no other. This negative has brought the sense that Mr. Thompson is the oldest teacher. This is type 1. Now, let us go to type 2. Now, students, please look at the sentence we have taken in type 2. Mr. Thompson is one of the oldest teachers. Now mark the difference between the sentence we have taken in type 2 and the sentence we had taken in type 1. In type 1 the sentence was Mr. Thompson is the oldest teacher. So what is the difference? The difference lies in one of. That means Mr. Thompson is not the oldest. There are teachers who are as old as Mr. Thompson. So how to transform it into comparative degree and into positive degree? Let us look. This is in superlative. As you know, oldest is in superlative form. The comparative form of oldest is older. How to do that? Let's see. Mr. Thompson is, the comparative form of oldest is older. And in comparative degree, we have to use than. That makes the comparison. Then, the sense of one of has to be carried over to comparative degree. We have to use many, or we can also use most. Many other teachers. Now the sentence has been converted into comparative degree. Mr. Thompson is older than many other teachers or most other teachers. This comes to be in comparative degree. Now how to do it in the positive degree? The positive form of the word oldest and older is old. Now to transform it into the positive degree, we have to begin the sentence with very few. Why very few? Because the sense of one of has to be brought in positive form. Very few. The sense of one of. The sense of many other, most other is explained. Very few teachers are as old as. We have brought it to positive degree. Mr. Thompson. This is positive degree. Old is in positive degree. As old as brings the sense, and very few brings the sense of one of. In comparative degree, many other, two, very few. Next, we will come to type 3. In type 3, the sentence is quite different from that of type 1 and type 2. The sentence is, Mr. Thompson is as old as Mr. John. It's quite clear to you from the sentence that the word old refers that the sentence is in the positive degree. Now, one thing, the point of difference of this sentence from type 1 and type 2 is that here comparison has been made between two persons, Mr. Thompson and Mr. John. And as you know from your previous knowledge from class 7, that when two persons or things are compared, we cannot transform it into superlative degree. So we can transform this sentence only into comparative degree. How to do that? Let us see. Now, let us come to a bit explanation of this sentence. The sentence, once again I'll read it for you. Mr. Thompson is as old as Mr. John. What does this sentence mean? This sentence means that the age of Mr. Thompson is equals to that of Mr. John. Now, there's a very simple rule to transform this sentence into comparative degree. How to do that? First point is swap the two persons. Change their position. Mr. John, let him come first. Mr. John. And let Mr. Thompson go at last. Mr. Thompson. So we have swapped the two persons. Now, swap the degree. Old will become older. And And in comparative degree, we know we have to use the conjunction than. Now, swap the affirmative into negative. It becomes into comparative degree. Mr. John is not older than Mr. Thompson. The sense remains unchanged and we got the comparative degree. It was, I think, very easy. Let me revise. Swap the subjects, swap the person, swap the affirmative into negative and swap the degree. And we get the answer. Now, dear students, we have provided you with some exercise on this topic. Please visit the school website and try to solve them of your own. Thank you.